What screams I peaked in high school. Back when Facebook expanded beyond college students and obliterated MySpace, there was an influx of people that had never used social media before. So for my age group at the time, 40 and over, there was a reconnection of old friends that you'd either lost contact with altogether, or haven't seen since the last reunion. It was a great time for a couple years, because people would say let's all meet at such and such bar and we'd all reconnect. Someone threw an all-80s get-together which I attended. I graduated HS in '86. Some dude approached me and introduced himself. Class of '81, I was in junior high. He says, "You probably remember me, or at least heard of me, because I won the talent show in '81, with my guitar." There was this really smart girl in my graduating class, who went on to work at a prestigious university in an extremely competitive field. In our freshman year math class, the teacher posed a tricky question that no one could solve, kind of like in Good Will Hunting. I solved it. She didn't. I still think about it nearly 10 years later. I peaked in high school when I was 21, working nights at a pizza and beer bar, trying to get out of junior college and get out of town. I had a high school acquaintance say to me, "Well, I guess we're past our peaks now." I said if I believed that was true I'd kill myself. Well, in fairness, I've never been thinner or faster than in HS. But man, have I been happier than those days. Running into someone who bullied you in high school years later and they still act like they did in high school. Ugh. Yes, or when you run into your bully you've graduated with and they act like we're so close to. Edit. I know people change as time goes on. I've forgiven a lot, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be so excited to be a friend of someone who would go out their way to get an unnecessary rise out of me just cause they think it's fun. I know some people are able to eventually be friends with their bully after. I wrote this comment cause the original post said something about bullies. Not that big of a deal. I have a friend who wears her cheerleader uniform every single year for Halloween. She will then post a picture on Facebook every single year and say look, it still fits. Does yours? You are 50 years old. It is time to move on. Edit. Okay, too many people to respond to. So quick summary. Yes, it does really still fit. Yes, I agree it is impressive. No, I won't post pics. I like this person. No, she is not a bitch. She is actually a really nice person, possibly the nicest I know. She is one of those people who is super nostalgic and in a sense did peak in HS. She will post photos and videos from cheer camp, halftime performances, etc. She is also very much into her kids' high school experience. Her daughter is a cheerleader, her son was a football player. Okay, this is Reddit, so I think this might hit closer to home than a lot of people would like to admit, but when you're still bringing up the fact you were in AP and honors classes in high school, everyone likes to bring up the obvious cliché of the former jock who can't let go of the past as a star player on his HS football team, but folks that consistently bring up their AP and honors classes, which trust me, no one fucking cares about, is the academic equivalent. I had a friend in college who constantly brought up the fact he could graduate a semester early because he had Calc 1 and history credits. Funny thing was 90% of the people at school had some sort of app or college credit coming in, so no one truly cared. Oh big whoop, you were smart in high school, so was everyone else here. Being involved in a pyramid or multi-level marketing scheme. I'm 32 and I've got 3 or 4 acquaintances who are all heading down this path now. It's a nice mild train wreck I check in on from time to time. Yup, I am 35 and this started happening with some high school friends a few years ago. So I have a theory about this. You hit 30 and realize you have not really accomplished anything. Then, someone comes along and tells you they can see in you that you were meant to be a successful, wealthy person. And these people are so relieved. Finally someone can see in them what they have always been able to see in themselves. So it is really easy to sucker these people into an MLM. I think this goes back to peaking in high school. In high school people could see how great they were. What happened? telling others HS will be the best days of your life. Adulthood isn't a breeze by any means, but it should be better than the few years that are supposed to impart learned knowledge and skills to help prepare for the following 50 years of freedom. All I'm saying is that if I ever start referring to these as the best years of my life, remind me to kill myself, pink in Dazed and Confused. You know, the 20-year-old that still goes to high school parties, working at the same place you did when you were in high school, possibly in a manager capacity, but not transferring locations in any capacity. I used to go to all sorts of high school parties and university ones. I was so damn popular. I'd show up and all these people would be like, "Hey, the pizza guy's here." Pretty much talking about high school all the time when you see them. I'm from a small city whose economy is really driven by factories, and I find that for a lot of people that stay working there, high school was their peak. The saddest case in my opinion is the guy who was the captain of the baseball team. We follow each other on Twitter and he tweets often about how good he was at baseball and how he should have been drafted rather than be stuck working some factory job. And yes, whenever I see him he does the good old "hey, remember when" crap that I usually expect when I go visit. So glad I left that place. I think in the old days, HS was probably the best years by design. You have a good time in preparation for a life of working in the steel mill or whatever and getting drunk each night until you become unable to work, and then spend the rest of your life being taken care of by your kids if you are lucky. Point: find a recreation other than drinking. It is bad for you. I think there's that, and also the fact that, for the vast majority of people, especially in small towns, where the high school archetype seems to originate, the end of high school signaled the end of being carefree. Like, immediately as soon as kids graduated, they were expected to marry their sweetheart, get a job, or start popping out kids, depending on which side of the marriage they were. And then that was basically the rest of their lives. Even for middle-class folk, that is those who probably wouldn't spend their nights at the bar, in such a situation, high school probably would have been the best years of their lives, purely because they were the last ones which weren't completely constricted by social expectations. Well, one of my best friends in high school was dating the most popular chick at school. She was gorgeous, pretty and smart. Everyone thought she'd be super successful in life. Turns out she fell in love with a girl who messed her up. She dropped out of college, got fat, and then married this super Christian fat douchebag. She peaked way too early in life, and she knows it. She is, however, extremely sweet. When I saw her a couple months ago, we're both 33, at her home, engagement party, I noticed all of pics of herself were when she was high school. It's basically as if she's still 18. Making a career out of being head honcho of the reunion committee every 10 years. 70 years old Redditor here. Mr. Popularity of my class comes out of mothballs every 10 years to put on a class reunion weekend. First he begins with the PR 2 years before the event, has a website, Facebook page, regular email updates, and Twitter feed. He sets the schedule for the pre-reunion informal event, followed by the tour of our high school today, then the golf opportunity, the main big deal event, and the bye-bye brunch. After the event he's posting videos he took on the website for the next 6 months. Eventually he goes back into low-key mode where he just keeps the Facebook page and website updated with news about classmates' life cycle events until the next round comes back into view. Whenever I hear the boss sing Glory Days, he's the one I think of. Still using your senior pictures as your profile picture when you're 32, also bragging about how muscular you are because you lifted a bunch of weights in high school. No bitch, you're 32, it's fat. Also bragging about being picked first in gym class for everything because you were such a great athlete. Again, you're 32, nobody cares. You think you're better than this place because you got out of it? Yes, I do. Sorry, I still get a few people like that from time to time, especially stuff like, "Oh, yeah, all high and mighty. But just remember where you came from." And it's like, well, yeah, of course I remember. Why the fuck do you think I'm way over here now? # prom night or any other throwback to high school. If you're constantly posting about how great high school was after you've graduated, then it's possible you peaked in high school.